This is the first Qatar Airways plane to land in Kuwait in almost a month. The only passengers it's carrying are Qatari officials, arriving here in the hope of negotiating an end to the embargo enforced by Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. A ban on using its neighbours' airspace and a shutdown of its only land border is weighing heavily on Qatar's business interests. Yet Doha refuses to cave in.
This list of demands made to be rejected. It's not made to be accepted or not made to be negotiated. The state of Qatar, instead of rejecting it as a principle, we are willing to engage in providing the proper condition for further dialogue.
The Saudis say their demands are non-negotiable, so a quick resolution seems unlikely. But rising tensions in the region are also taking a hit on their economy. Despite Saudi-led efforts to limit supply, global oil prices are low, effectively capping how much money the kingdom earns from selling petroleum. Major infrastructure projects like the Riyadh Financial District and its metro train have been stalled as resources are diverted to fund the war in Yemen. And Saudi Arabia's net foreign assets, a measure of its ability to support its currency, are falling sharply, even though the government stepped up austerity measures. And pressure is mounting on the government to do more to revive the economy. When Prince Al-Walid bin Talal announced the construction of the world's tallest tower, dozens of people took to Twitter to ask the government to fix its priorities and spend more on education and jobs instead. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has risen through the ranks, drumming up the benefits of Vision 2030, which is supposed to transform the Saudi economy. Many observers also believe he's the instigator behind the war in Yemen and the embargoes on Qatar. And which pet project the young prince chooses to prioritize could make or break the kingdom's economy. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And we have Mobin on the set with us. We also have our editor-at-large Craig Copetas. He's in France as ever. Mobin, I want to start with you because you actually were in Saudi Arabia back in June. From what you could observe and the people you were talking to, how is the Vision 2030 going?
And we talked about this in our earlier reports as well. Some of the major projects that are supposed to be sort of the posters of that are supposed to lead this change, the financial district in Riyadh, stalled well beyond its completion date. The metro that was supposed to accompany it also stalled. A bunch of other highways, different projects, all stalled.
Yeah. They're all stalled. Why? Why aren't they moving along? Why are they still in their boxes?
Because they've spent their money. They're spending their money on the war in Yemen, mostly on defense contracts and other things. And so obviously they have to cut corners somewhere.
Let me bring in Craig Copetas then at this point. Craig, a lot of the money, as Mobin witnessed, is not really moving the big projects along for Vision 2030. It's actually being diverted to other less productive causes. That's what you think as well, right?
Yes. What I'm hearing from the diplomatic and business community outside of Saudi Arabia jives 100% with Mobin's reportage in the kingdom. What Saudi Arabia is doing right now are deals with Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. These are not the kind of companies that you're going to be dealing with if you're trying to generate a digital, modern, Western-type economy as is envisioned in Saudi 2030. The Saudis are not talking to Amazon, for instance, to have a shipping hub in Riyadh. They're not talking to, say, Apple to put call centers somewhere, say, in Jeddah. They're certainly not talking to BMW to build a plant there. It is a full-footed war economy, and they are using 2030 as a distraction.
Let me ask you something. They are trying to extract from Qatar 13 key demands. One of those is shut down Al Jazeera. Another is reduce ties with Iran. And another is to reduce ties with the Muslim Brotherhood and stop supporting them in various ways. Those are the allegations in any case. Financially, economically, what would Saudi Arabia like to get out of Qatar?
They want access to the natural gas. Saudi Arabia is clinically broke. They are drowning in cheap oil. Saudi 2030 needs a lot of money to attempt to regenerate the Saudi economy, to get it off oil. Nobody wants to invest in Saudi Arabia unless the investment relates.
You can't just
to
walk
oil.
into Qatar and take these gas fields, can you? I mean, also the Iranians have claims over them. So what is the end game here?
Well, the end game is there's a lot of ways to take over a country without sending 40,000 troops across the border. Back in the 90s, there were attempts to assassinate members of the Qatari royal family. There's all types of ways to destabilize. And one of the first steps is to intimidate by building up a huge military force. But the Qataris are not quaking.
Let's just bring in Mobin here for a second.
The fact of the matter is that if the Saudis were to get their hands on those gas fields today, they wouldn't know what to do with them. Look, if you look at Vision 2030, they've had some of the world's best consultants working on this. You're talking Boston Consulting Group, PricewaterhouseCoopers, but most of these consultants are sitting out in Dubai or London, having not spent a day in Saudi Arabia, having no idea how to really implement these projects. 18 months into this so-called vision, what you have is a couple of insignificant privatizations, and other than that, really just report after report that talks about how these will be implemented in some future date.
Well, aren't the Saudis aware of this? Aren't they pushing these consultancy groups to come forward and get on with their job?
I think that, at least based on my conversations in my time there is a lot of resentment, and it's not just to do with this vision or how it's going to be implemented. A lot of it also has to do, keep in mind that this war is costing a lot of money at a time when Saudi Arabia, as Craig just said, doesn't have much. And that money has come out from higher taxes on expat workers, but also lower benefits for Saudi nationals. And as long as that continues to drain the economy and oil prices are not looking like they're going to be rebounding anytime soon. So it seems that the same situation will persist. And mind you, it's a stark contrast from the mood that we're seeing in Qatar, where a lot of people...
I want to get to that, yes. So tell us about what is the difference between what's happening in Qatar and what's happening in Saudi Arabia in terms of the support from the local population?
Look, we've seen rallies in Qatar in support of the Emir. We're seeing wall murals and artists coming out with paintings and other tributes to their leadership. Where is that support in Saudi Arabia? We're not seeing that in the people of Saudi Arabia.
Right. Just both of you, very quickly, looking into your crystal balls. Saudi Arabia is a massive country, 11 million people. Qataris have maybe 200,000 local population, 2 million bloated with the immigrant population that come to work there. Who is going to blink first? The Qataris have more money per person, but the Saudis are much more powerful militarily. Craig, first, your prediction.
The Saudis will blink first.
Mobin?
I'd agree. There's just too many people there for there not to be any arguments and commotion.
OK, thank you very much, Mobin and Craig Copetas.